Okay, so I've used the fine and the coarse and the fine paper, and then I've used steel wool. Okay, and that leaves the pad, you know, the same height all the way across, nice and level, flat. I am not going to polish this. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that. I'm not going to polish this. I know that some people want to do that. That's cool. You know, if you want to polish it out, lap it, that's fantastic. But to me, nah, you know, I'm just going to use Arctic Alumina, you know, when I put this on to adhere the star to the pill. And I have no problem with doing it the way it is right now, and I've never had an issue with it. So that's what I'm going to do. So we'll take a break here for a second and get everything else ready. Okay, so I'm at the point where I'm going to work on the driver, and first of all I want to strip the wires on the one end where the wires are going to be soldered to the driver, and I leave just a little bit of bare wire, just a tiny bit. I don't want a lot of bare wire because I don't want those wires exposed to possibly the side walls of the pill. So I'm just going to take just a little tiny bit of insulation off the end. Yeah, sure I will. Of course, you know, when I want to do it for the camera, there you go. Okay. So just a tiny bit of insulation off the end of that wire, and then I will put just a little bit of flux on these wires, and I will solder those wires, pre-tin them first. Okay, I gotta wait for my soldering iron to heat back up, and then we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll get the wires on the driver. Okay, so I'm over here at the driver. I have the driver in the vise. I'm going to just put a little dab of solder on these wires, just a tiny bit. Okay, and hang on a second. Okay, now I got to get the old wires off this driver, and I'm just going to touch the soldering gun here. Get these old wires off of here. Okay. And alright, that looks like it'll work. Then I need to put the new ones on, and I have just a dab of solder on the soldering gun. I'll just put my wire in there and start heating, and heat it up into, there we go. Okay, that's the positive, and the brown will be the negative. And again, I'll just heat and let it flow into it. Okay, now I've got to look real close to see if that's going to work or not, that I didn't touch anything else with the solder. Looks like it should work, shouldn't be any problem. So that's all ready to go. Remember the resistance mod has already been done on this one. The copper braid is inside of it, so now it's ready to go into the pill. Okay, we're back again, and now I'm ready to go ahead and adhere the star down into the LED shelf on the pill, and I need to get it aligned to the reflector and have it in exactly the right position in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some Arctic Alumina. I'm going to spread it on the star and put it down inside there, and then I'm going to use the reflector and the bezel and everything to tighten down against it and also center it at the same time, so I don't have a problem with the reflector not fitting right when I put it all together when I'm finished. So that's the first thing, is to put a little bit of Arctic Alumina together here and mix it up. And this stuff's pretty old. I don't know if I'm even going to have anything left in there to mix up. We're going to give it a try and see. Okay. very little. I'm about done with that tube. And we don't need much. We really don't need very much. So I'm going to try to mix an equal amount on the part A and part B, close as I can get. And just going to take and mix them together. Okay. And just stir it up. That's how. And try to get it best I can and scrape it a couple times, and sort of like kneading dough, I guess, about the same thing. And I'm going to put some on this star, and that's always the messiest and hardest part of it, but I'll just put some on that star. This is more than I need, that's for sure. I always put too much, so that's why you squeeze it down afterwards, but I'll try to scrape some of it off so I get it as much as I can off it. Hope you can see this. I'm looking at it from my viewpoint, not your viewpoint, so I'm just putting a thin layer in there, trying to make sure that I've got enough in there where it'll squeeze out and pretty much cover the star. Okay, now I've got to get that star down inside this thing and get it all together and lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and take my tweezers and see if I can't set this down inside of there. And then once I do that, I'm going to use two of these little nails to go inside the holes for the wires, so hopefully I can still have wire holes when all is said and done. Okay, I'm going to put my reflector down in there and get that located where it's supposed to be, and then I'm going to throw the lens on top of that, and I'm going to twist it all together. Okay, and I better move this out of the way real quick, and I'm going to hold down with my fingers and try to tighten, and hopefully tighten and squeeze at the same time. And here I'm starting to get, yeah, okay, I'm not tight enough. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw that pill back out some, so that it'll make it tighter. Okay, so I'm going to screw the pill up some, put everything back together again, and see if I can't use it to, I'm trying to use a reflector to tighten down the star. Okay. And I don't want the reflector to spin in there when I'm doing it, so that's why I'm holding with my fingers. Okay, best I can do anyways, because the more the reflector spins, the more it's going to twist these wires, or twist the star in the back side, and I want to make sure the star is lined up. So I'll try take these. There we go. See, I'll take those nails and I can force the stars, you know, so the holes are you know what I'm talking about, right? Oh God. So that the holes will be open enough for the wires to go through. And if there we go, like that. You know, I can move it around a little bit before that Arctic Luminous sets on permanently. Because once it's set, it's a real pain in the ass to do anything with it. Pain in the arse, pain in the ass. Make sure my reflector looks like it's centered. It looks pretty good. Squeeze a little harder. Okay, squeeze a little harder until you break the lens. Alright. That looks pretty good. So now we're just going to set for about 10 minutes. And of course the thing died. No, maybe it didn't die. It's still recording. It's just, yeah. Alright. So we're going to set this for about 10 minutes. And then we'll go from there, see how it looks. Okay, so we've got the star now on the, in the pill where it belongs. And we have our driver. So the next thing is to go ahead and put the driver in and wire this thing up. I want positive to positive, so I'm going to make sure which wire goes which way. And I'm just going to put my wires in the holes and start sliding everything together. Okay, then I get down into here and make sure I get my driver seated down in there. Alright, and I will go ahead and alright, well, memory card full again, so I went ahead and moved the pill over here. Okay, and I have the driver where I want it. I'm going to put my locking ring in here and get it started if I can. And there we go. That's going in. Then I'll grab my snap ring pliers and see if I can't get this locked down tight. Okay, so if things are correct, it should light up. And I'm going to turn it here a little, well, yeah, I'll light up. Well, come on now. Is it going to light up? What an idiot. Alright, you're going to see the bad stuff as well as the good stuff, I guess. The next thing to do is to go ahead and hook the two wires to the star. So I gotta prepare for a second to do that. Hang on. Okay, I just folded the wires over so that I know where I want them to lay over the pads. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the driver, strip the wires, and put them back in again. Okay. Okay, I've removed the driver, I've stripped the ends of the wires, and I have it back in again. There's two reasons why I use this Teflon wire. Well, yeah. And why I use a solid wire. The Teflon wire has a very a thinner insulation, so it can get in through like the slots of the sink pad, okay? And the solid wire is actually a little bit easier to, and a little bit I'm not going to say thinner, a little bit easier to deal with when you're going to solder in there and try to get that wire down as flat as you can, because the problem with this reflector is that reflector has that huge flat spot on it, okay? And it can very easily touch the wires. Let me try to get it set in there. It can very easily touch the wires. There's hardly any clearance in there at all. So I want to get those wires down just as tight as I can, and I may even want to cover them up to make sure, because if they touch that aluminum reflector, then you're going to short things out. So I'm going to get this set over in here and try to get this thing soldered, okay? Alright, hang on a second. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit of flux on these wires. I did not pre-tin them, so I'm going to put a little flux on them. Then I need to get some solder on my soldering iron. And see if I can get the soldering iron in a position with all this stuff to be able to try to do anything. And I know it might get to see my arm for a minute. That would be a good thing to see. Alright, I got a little bit of solder on my soldering iron. And I'm going to try to hold this wire down as much as I can while I solder that in position. And if it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Let me see what I can do here. Having the camera in the way is a problem, but there you go. There's a solder joint right there. And I got to do the same thing on the other side, and I got to move it so I can get to it. Alright, so I have both wires soldered. Okay. And now I'll find out if it lights up. I have my 3AA battery holder again with the wires, and we'll see whether it does anything. I should be able to touch the aluminum to negative, and I should be able to touch, there we go, to positive. Yep, okay. So it works. Now all I've got to do is put everything back together.